Yeah.
All right, hello, my name is Ani. We are four members from the Walnut Creek Youth Commission, and today we got the opportunity to interview three members of the Youth Ambassadors Program, and they helped us learn a lot about COVID, the symptoms, and strategies to help us stay safe. And I'm going to pass it to Alex to talk about some of her favorite parts of the presentation.
Hi, yeah, I'm Alex. One of my favorite parts I talked about in the presentation was really talked about certain communities that have been really heavily affected, such as older relatives, older people, and then people who have underlying health conditions or already are at a higher risk, as we know, and then also Black and Latinx communities, which are at a higher risk due to having to be essential workers, having less healthcare access. So yeah, I thought that was a very interesting point they brought up in the presentation today. I'll pass it to Jerlene.
I really loved their presentation. A lot of great facts, especially about marginalized communities in Contra Costa and how they are disproportionately affected by COVID. One of the most interesting things that stuck out to me is breaking down what the word COVID-19 means. So co is for corona, DI is for virus, D is disease, and then 19 was the year. And I've never heard of that before. And I thought it was really interesting. So I'll pass it to Andy.
Um, I really liked their whole presentation was great. I liked that they kind of did a little flow chart of how, you could get COVID and what that is, what the like general flow of that is and how you get exposed and then you get symptoms, then you get tested and treatment and all that. And I also really liked their Deno thing where they had each letter stood for how you can like stay safe from COVID. So yeah.
All right, my favorite part definitely was the breakdown of what COVID-19 stands for, and I know Jerlene already covered that, so I'll talk a little bit more about my second favorite, which was their acronym DINO, which Andy said, and it had four components: D, which was distance and social distancing of at least 6 feet; E stood for wearing a mask; N was minimalizing the number of people at events or the number of people you're exposed to; and O was putting an emphasis on staying outdoors as much as possible or in settings that have good circulation.
We have around 7 questions, so I'll be starting us off. So the first question we have is, what have you been doing to stay connected? Because all of us going into quarantine, there's sort of a loneliness that we've all been feeling. And so what have you guys been doing to stay connected with your friends and family you may not live with?
I guess I'll kind of go, but even though everything is kind of on Zoom right now, I'm going to school. I go to St. Mary's, and everything's online, and I go to church. It's even online. Work, everything has been like online, and it's been really lonely, just like you said. And I feel like a really big Zoom fatigue, but at the same time, like being a youth ambassador does keep me really connected, in my community. And I'm able to post on Instagram about COVID-19 and asking my followers questions that are keeping them engaged and updated on the latest news in our county, which is really nice. And I feel like that's keeping me really connected with not only the people that I love, but my community in general. Definitely having these like little Zoom calls and just checking up on friends is really important, especially mental health has been a really big thing this past year, but just staying connected like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like social media this past year has been a really big factor in connecting youth with other people. It's been a lot of late FaceTime calls for me with my friends, going on drives sometimes, outdoor hikes. So just trying to keep yourself busy, not get so exhausted. And like Cindy said, it's really important to take care of yourself during this time. So, reach out to people, say, hey, how are you feeling? Make sure everyone's doing okay. And yeah.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree. It's super hard, and those are really great answers. So our second question is, if you have to expose yourself for work, to visit family, whatever, and how are you staying safe while doing all of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't had to expose myself except for going to the grocery store since everything is, online for me. I even work online and everything. But I do try to stay home as much as I can because both of my parents, they're really high risk and I always put them first. But, not only that, I do want to set a good example, to my community by staying at home. So I do try to keep everything virtual as much as I can. But I mean, the only thing I would probably say is probably trips to the grocery store right now.
I agree. I'm in a household with people who are at high risk, so I try my hardest to stay safe and, not bring any unwanted virus back into my home. But like we talked about earlier in the presentation, when I am exposing myself for needed purposes, I definitely follow the rules of Dino, maintaining my distance, wearing my face mask, making sure I'm not exposed for long amounts of time. Making sure that like if I have to go to the grocery store, I'm not, standing next to 7 people in a line. And then yeah, just making sure that I'm staying safe any way I can, washing my hands.
Right, thank you so much for that. And now I'm going to hand it off to Alex for the next couple questions.
Oh yeah, thank you. So my question was, why did you guys decide to be a youth ambassador? What made you interested in this project?
I started realizing that, COVID-19 was real, after, we went on lockdown, we didn't have school for a couple of weeks, and then it started getting like really more serious, and I started to take it serious. And, my own family members were, had the virus. And after I saw what they went through, I knew that I had to take this seriously and I wanted to make a change in my community. And, most of my followers, they're friends and family members. So I do want to keep them as updated, as much as I can. And I just wanted to make a difference, I would say, in my community.
Yeah, I agree with Cindy. I think the biggest thing that drew me to this program was seeing my own community and the kids that go to my school. They're out going to parties still. Like, they're not socially distancing, they're not respecting current health orders. They're driving in cars with 6 people without a mask. It's like what we said earlier, we're not telling them what to do, but we're showing them what we as ambassadors are doing to stay safe and, kind of persuade them into looking further in what they can do to stay safe. Just the whole idea of, going out and, going to parties and stuff during quarantine was just something that really drew me to this program because I wanted to, make an impact and show people in my community other alternatives to what they could do.
Thank you. How have you been using your platform to inform about COVID and just like what stats have you been sharing and just essentially what are your responsibilities as a youth ambassador?
Sometimes we do post stats and we post like infographics as well. Some things about the county sometimes, like when we went on lockdown, recently when they just locked down everything, we kind of put like, oh, what's open, what's not open, stuff like that. Just keeping, the community informed as well as giving them an idea of, oh, like what we're doing to stay safe and what are you doing? Kind of having that engagement question so that they, it kind of catches their eye.
Yeah, like Cindy said, I think engagement with your followers is a really big thing. We're doing a lot of story posts, we're doing feed posts. Not only is that our job as youth ambassadors, but we also, do things like this is where we, step up and volunteer to do presentations and, speak on different presentations and slideshows that we're talking to people about. Like Cindy said, it's just super important. We're showing them what we're doing, if it's just staying home and baking something or playing with your dog, something like that, just so, we can show other people how they can stay safe.
Thank you so much. Yeah, now I'm going to hand it off.
Oh, hi guys. So my first question is, what are the challenges of being a youth ambassador in general and then now online?
I would say probably the most challenging thing is probably finding something to post. Like, because I don't take pictures anymore. I don't go out, so it's like, what am I gonna post, right? But that's probably one of the most challenging things for me. It kind of, I always struggle with trying to find a perfect caption. Like, I need it to be like perfect. But that's probably something that's because I want to give out the prevention message. Like, I want to get the point straight up. I just don't want to. I need it to be like in a certain way for me, but being online in general, I just feel like a really big Zoom fatigue with everything. I'm doing everything on Zoom and it's just draining sometimes, if that makes sense. But
I feel like my online presence for me isn't as hard as content curation, definitely during COVID, because, we're so limited to what we can do. It's really hard to find content to post on our social media. Um, so yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things as a ambassador currently in this program is content curation.
And then my second question is, what are your biggest takeaways from being a youth ambassador?
I would say that my biggest takeaway is that I learned so much about this virus, and I like things that I would have never learned kind of on my own, and just taking what I've learned and taking it out to the community and kind of just giving them the information that I wish that I would have heard if I wasn't in this program, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of what my biggest takeaway is.
I think my biggest takeaway is definitely understanding community impact, definitely in Contra Costa, because I think, Contra Costa is very diverse. We have a lot of, places that are super wealthy, places that are super poor. There's people of all different races, cultures, ethnic backgrounds. And I think this program really helped me open my eyes to, disparities in Contra Costa, whether it comes to access to healthcare, money, etc. And that's just something that I would have never learned if I wasn't in this program. So I'm really grateful for that.
I was wondering, how have the stay-at-home orders affected your mental health? And if that's too personal, you can totally skip. Or if you have like some advice of some ways that you've um, decided not cope, but some things that have helped you get through it.
I definitely like this question a lot because I'm a really open person. I like to share what I've gone through, and because I always think that okay, that might help someone, but I feel like the stay-at-home orders in the beginning really did affect my mental health because I kind of like shut out everyone. And I stopped talking to a lot of people, and I realized the people that would check up on me, like they actually really cared about me, and I lost a lot of friends because I noticed that these people would only talk to me like from school, right? And it was just kind of like it was an eye opener, I would say. But the stay at home orders just it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different things just in life in general, and but like it helped a lot with my mental health is way better now that I know I have healthy relationships now. I know who my real friends are, and I'm doing everything virtually, and it's just the people that put time to reach out to you really does make a difference and matters.
Yeah, I agree with Cindy. I think the biggest thing for me is that in the beginning, I wasn't in a very good mental state just because I was really longing for that social aspect. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to be able to see my friends. And it's just like our world switched just so quickly, just like that. And I wasn't able to do anything. And I got super like, I don't know, I think it would be a little frustrated, but I knew that like in the end everything would be okay. Some items that I have like in my metaphorical toolbox, now is definitely like meditation, going on long walks. I think that really helps, getting a breath of fresh air. That all really helps with like clearing your mind, making you feel better, definitely making you more centered, with your energy and everything. And that's what I kind of like to follow on a daily basis, just to, make sure that I'm not feeling, I'm sorry, I'm not like having any anxiety, or I'm not in a poor mental health state.
Yeah, I love those responses, and I think those are all very valid points. And I think we can all relate to some of those things, like the long walks and the finding out who your true friends are. I feel like there's a lot of common experiences throughout this whole pandemic and all of the lockdown restrictions. So now for some fun questions. I know this might be a little evil because like there is no end in sight quite yet, but we're getting there. What do you miss most about life before COVID? Like, what's the one thing that was like a favorite activity or something that you really miss doing?
I really miss weddings, going to weddings. I don't know why. I think it's just it was so fun because I was able to see all of my family. We would all get together, and my family's pretty big. So we would always have at least like 3 or 4 weddings like every year. So I would always look forward to them.
I would say probably traveling. I'm a really big traveler. Like I'm from Palestine and I go there every summer. But I haven't been going lately. But I just probably traveling and exploring.
I can totally relate to both of those. And I hope you guys get back to doing what you love soon. Um, and then final question is another one of like a little tease question, unfortunately. When the restrictions are lifted, what is the one thing that you want to do as soon as possible? And why?
I think the first thing I'm going to do is meet up with my friends and probably go watch a movie. And the reason is because it's been a long time since we did that, and I think it'll be really good to connect on more of like a physical level.
I would probably buy a plane ticket and go see my aunt. She has been through a lot lately, and I just would like to be next to her right now. But yeah, that's probably the first thing that I would do.
Alrighty, and that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for all of your answers. It was really informative. Um, and we hope to be able to spread your guys' message through our networks as well. And Jerlene, Alex, Andy, if you guys have anything to add.
Nope, just want to say thank you so much for coming to this interview and answering our questions. We really appreciate it. And yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, so again, thank you to the youth ambassadors for providing this information and attending this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.